right? They'll still keep buying back the ruble and keep it low. Yeah, so I think it's quite high chance that World War III start and nuclear war and all that nonsense. Yeah. India is buying a lot of gas. That one I don't know. I'm not aware of it. But when you talk about India, the India Prime Minister said this. He's wondering what's going on with all the Western countries. He literally told the Western countries like, why are you all taking in all the illegal immigrants? Don't you know all these illegal immigrants are actually criminals? When you take in the Indians, right? Don't you know that these people that are taking in these Indians, right, are not actually refugees? They are criminals. They are terrorists. There are people who do crimes in India and need to flee. That's why you're taking all these kind of people. He's asking them, why are you taking these people? He also don't understand why. What's in my truck? I drop off one last load. Then I head back to Clastra. 8k. I think it's better to put at Bilge. Bilge can support, like, can bring to this way, can bring to this way. I'll drop it off at Bilge. Then I'll leave the truck there for them to use if they need to use. Deport and go to war with cartels. Yeah, he should. No, what Trump said was he's gonna declare all these cartels as terrorists. So if they're terrorists, nothing's gonna stop you from just flying your plane above, drop the bomb, and bye bye terrorists. That's a normal way to treat terrorists. Wait. That's a standard American way to treat terrorists. Huh? Jeremy just bombed the drugs. Oof. Okay, we need to hold the line. How's here? Still fighting, they're still trying. I don't know, man, it would be great if, like, you know, we have some force go in and take over overland, you know, buy them some time, or it's like we have some group that bring logic in, but I think they fortified the area, you know, like, I don't think it can go in by this way. Or, you know, some logic chats to naval, but you see, they got fucking barge there. Oof. Because I'm smart as fuck, right? It's not just US politics, you know? Okay, let me see. Yeah, but I think the bad people are all the Euro people. All the European leaders. Like literally, Europe just said, if Trump signs a peace agreement with Moscow, they are going to create their own army, the EU army, to go and attack Russia. Yeah. So yeah, there you have it. The real warmonger is Europe. If you think I'm talking bullshit, you go and check the news. You sure can find something about it. Okay, I'm just gonna leave this truck here for people to use if they wanna use. Let's fucking drop it here. Right. Let me just check. Let me check. Do the bases here need restock? I prefer doing logi over here. Here it's fine. 3k 900. Okay, maybe BMATs. Oh, they got 3k. They're fine, No, I'll just stay here then. Wait. I kind of want to eat my porridge. Maybe I find something interesting we can watch. While I eat. Let me see, which video did I watch? You can watch this. Yeah.
We're going to get right into it. Today I want to talk about some biblical scriptures, okay? And then how we got here. So enjoy this presentation.
Our founding fathers believed that this country was founded by Christians on the gospel of Jesus Christ. The other philosophy is what our founding fathers said, that creation is true, and laws come from the Creator, rights are unalienable, and the government should be limited to two things: punish evildoers, and defend us from outside invaders. Those are the only two legitimate functions of government. They should not be involved in welfare. They should not be involved in education. It's called a constitutional republic. That's how it started, folks. But evolution says, oh no, man's in charge, so we better decide truth and better decide right and wrong. And the basic philosophies of government are really based on creation or evolution. Second plank in Karl Marx's manifesto was a heavy progressive income tax. Don't get me started on that one. We have a long 30-page letter we can send you on that one. Send our office a few bucks to cover copies, and we'll send you our 30-page letter about this topic right here. Okay? The third one was abolish the rights of inheritance. Bible says a good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinners laid up for the just. Karl Marx wanted to abolish the rights of inheritance. See if God's for it, he's against it. Number 4, confiscate property rights. Number 5, a central bank. Remember, love of money, root of all evil. 1913, we got a creature from Jekyll Island, Georgia, called the Federal Reserve. You ought to read that book and find the history behind the Federal Reserve. Nothing federal about it, and there are no reserves. It's no more federal than the Federal Express or federal rifle shells. Okay. Love of money, root of all evil. The Bible says the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. You see, the rich folks wanted to figure out a way to get all of the money. They would like everybody in debt to them, so that when you work, part of your money goes to them, even though they didn't do the work. You did the work, but they get part of the money. That's how debt works, isn't it? If you borrow money for a house or a car, well, then you work to pay to give some of it away. Interesting. For centuries, the alchemists sought for ways to turn lead into gold. They failed. But the bankers discovered a way to do it. Start wars and finance both sides. Interesting. After the lead stops flying, the gold rolls in as interest payments on the national debt. Did you know during World War II, U.S. debt rose almost 600%, Japanese debt rose 1,300%, French debt rose almost 600%, Canadian debt rose 400%. Debt to who? Who do we owe this money to? What's the national debt now? Like 17 trillion when they're really honest and put all the numbers on the table? Who do we owe this money to? Every one of you is carrying in your wallet or your purse evidence of our debt. You want to see it? This is not a $5 bill. This is a debt note. This is proof of our debt. Federal Reserve note. This is not money, folks. That'd take a long time to explain all that, but the national debt is absolutely staggering. See, Nehemiah said, we have borrowed money for the king's tribute, and upon our lands and vineyards, and lo, we bring into bondage our sons and our daughters to be servants. I'm afraid we've got our sons and grandsons and great-grandsons in debt already right now, folks. Here's to give you a little bit of the history of the love of money and how this ties in. Okay? In 1776, we fought a war with England and gained independence from England and from the Bank of England. Only Congress had power to coin money. Jefferson warned if the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of currency, by the way, Federal Reserves are private banks, okay? First by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that grow up around them will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. In 1792, Alexander Hamilton established a 20-year charter with the Bank of England. Big mistake, Alex. In 1812, renewal was denied and war broke out. England said, okay, charter's up, we want the colonies back. That's what the War of 1812 was really about, okay? 1833, Andrew Jackson removed all money from the chartered banks and put them into state banks. In 1836, the rich men, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, these kind of guys, had Mexico invade Texas, started a war to punish America for not keeping their money in his banks. In 1861, these same rich men helped create the Civil War to disrupt the economy. They wanted to create debt and get their power back. See, they have power when everybody's in debt to them. They love it when Congress issues more money because they just print it and it's more debt. In 1861, the Industrial Revolution created great wealth in the hands of a few. You ought to read the book The Robber Barons for more on that. In 1907, banker J.P. Morgan deliberately created the financial panic to promote the idea of a central bank. In 1912, the communist Marxist Colonel House, who was Wilson's alter ego, he was in the Wilson administration, he wrote a book called Philip Drew, Administrator, to explain his conspiracy to establish a central bank and create a progressive income tax. 1913, Federal Reserve Act was passed and Federal Income Tax Act was passed. December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, the Federal Reserve Act passed. Then the 16th Amendment was passed. Now this is the greatest hoax in history. All the senators had gone home. This is Christmas. Colonel House walks in, announces to practically an empty Senate, the 16th Amendment has passed. Now when an amendment passes, all the states have to ratify it. When this 16th Amendment to allow for the income tax went out to all the different states, almost every state didn't even vote on it. When it came up for issue, they said, this is unconstitutional. We passed. We're not going to vote on it. So when they said passed, that didn't mean they agreed. That means they didn't want to vote on it. 16th Amendment was never ratified. The law that never was. Okay. That's a long, interesting story. Anyway, in 1916, Wilson, reflecting on the Federal Reserve Act, said, I have unwittingly ruined my country. From 1920 to 1929, the bankers increased the money supply by 62% to create the Roaring Twenties and brought people into the stock market. October 1929, the bankers called in their loans and sent the economy into the Great Depression. This was intentionally done. And then helped create the New Deal programs where they could loan the government money to rescue the economy. And guess who we're in debt to? Same guys. In June 1932, Congressman Louis McFadden gave his powerful speech to Congress, spelling out who had caused the Depression. On the third try, they finally had him assassinated. Congressman Louis McFadden. There was also, Lindbergh was very much outspoken against the banking system, and he ended up getting his baby kidnapped and murdered because of this same issue. Okay. 1933, the government debt to the bankers began to grow steadily. Millions readily accepted a Social Security number, which, by the way, is voluntary, and I don't have one. Okay. The rich men then tricked people into getting a Social Security number in order to get their benefits from the government. As usual, they created a crisis, the Depression, to encourage compliance. Here's an original Social Security card. Look what it says. Not for identification.
Oh.
New ones, you have to have for identification for just about everything, don't you? Look, if anybody asks for your Social Security number, just say, it's none of your business. I applied for insurance, and they said, for life insurance. And they said, oh, you don't have a Social Security number.